All right, so I'm going to start with my dealings with SpaceX with Thursday. So Thursday about lunchtime or a little before lunch, I realized talking to the Florida troopers and looking at the time I had available on my clock that we were going to be down there late afternoon Thursday as opposed to being down there Friday morning. And my highway patrol escorts really wanted to get me parked Thursday so they could go home because they had a 7-hour drive. Yes, Florida's that big when you consider the Kennedy Space Center in relationship to living west of Pensacola. So they didn't want to spend the night, and which I don't blame them. So we let them know we'll be there in the afternoon. Can I stage the load at the Badge-In Center? So originally we were told yes. Well, then I ended up talking to a lady named Miss M. And I'm going to call her Miss M because her first name starts with M. So she's like, hey, who told you that? And I was like, the Badge-In Center said we could park the load behind there. She says, well, I don't know if you can do that. But also you can't cross the causeway without the Kennedy Space Center law enforcement escorts. I was like, oh, well then. She said, you can't do that till after 6 o'clock because of high traffic flow curfews. I was like, okay, well, then it looks like the highway patrol escorts are going to be spending the night down there close to the Space Center, unless we can figure something out. So she comes back, she says, hey, we can bring you in this time. And I explained to her why that's not possible with, my curfews, my hours of service limitations. And there still wasn't sure whether I could park it where we were originally going to park it at for the night. So she was like, hey, is this place that you can park it. We stage oversized loads there. I'll get you confirmation of whether you can leave it there for the night. And so a little bit later, she comes back and says, you can do that. So, Miss M, the way you handled yourself, you just overly, not overly, but you're just a very, I believe, naturally a friendly person, an accommodating person, very good-natured, understanding, helpful. And it made it very easy to work through some of the challenges and some of the confusion because, as it turns out, there's more than one person working on this, and they were in different departments, and we had to get it down to one person so we could get some of this confusion and conflicting information sorted out. But dealing with people like her, like you, Miss M, and dealing with some of your other co-workers in Texas and in Florida gives me great insight into how Elon Musk runs his companies, if SpaceX is any indication. Because you don't get people in two vastly different locations that are all everybody had dealt with. Was competent, knowledgeable, very laid back, very helpful, very good natured. Communicate clearly, had good spatial awareness of what we needed, how much room we needed to do it in. You don't get that a lot, especially within one company in two very different locations like that. A lot of times you just don't, it's rare to get that from everybody you deal with. And that leads me to this. If you run a company, or if you're a manager, you really should study management styles, because what I experienced with them gives me a great insight into how Elon Musk obviously runs his companies, the atmosphere that he fosters, and how these people are set up to succeed and to thrive. I'm not saying that there's not high expectations, and I'm not saying that there's not high levels of performance that are expected from these people. What I'm saying is they obviously like the job. They like who they work with. They like who they work for. They obviously feel respected. They obviously feel seen. They obviously know and feel and understand that they are contributing. People like that may not like the job, and they may be stressed by the job, but they stay because of the people they work for and work with. And that became very obvious dealing with the SpaceX people in Texas and in Florida. If the rest of his companies have that same atmosphere about them, it's no wonder that we are seeing the things that we see from his companies. If you're struggling to retain people, and if you're struggling with good management, you should really do a study on people like him and his businesses and how they do so well. But yeah, Miss M, if you see this, I hope your bosses see it too. And I hope you get the recognition you deserve because I seriously doubt this is a one-off situation with your behavior with myself. And it was a pleasure dealing with you, and I hope to do it again. And yeah, I was the oversized load you talked to Thursday that you parked in the PID lot that came in Friday. So anyway, y'all have a great weekend. Be safe.